it's been 12 months of brutal war in the Gaza Strip. My colleague Mohammed's daughter was born on the 31st of October in Gaza City. Through relentless bombing, he rushed his wife, Mai, to hospital himself because they couldn't get an ambulance, which they were busy responding to people injured in strikes. She delivered her baby at a hospital with limited medication, surrounded by people screaming in fear and dying. A similar experience to that of around 50,000 women who've given birth during the war. On December 5th, my colleague's 4-year-old daughter, Salma, was shot in the neck and died in her father's arms as the family were trying to flee Gaza City. At least 11,000 children have been reported killed in the last 12 months, although the exact number is presumed higher because many are still buried under the rubble. In January, we lost contact with my colleague Hussein for a whole week when the UNRWA facility his family was sheltering in was besieged, surrounded by tanks, trapping over 40,000 people inside. Ambulances and emergency teams were denied access. When we finally got through to him, he told us he was burying the bodies of those killed, including children, in the courtyard. 198 UNRWA facilities have been hit since the start of the war, and many while sheltering families inside of them. Some of the most impactful images of this war have been taken by my colleague Abdullah. In February, Abdullah was hit in a strike while documenting North Gaza. Both of his legs had to be amputated. While doctors tried to keep him alive in Al-Shifa, the hospital came under Israeli siege. Miraculously, the UN was able to reach him. I was first permitted entry to Gaza myself in April and visited Abdullah in a field hospital in Rafah. Doctors informed us he only had days to live because they did not have the equipment or medicine necessary to treat him further. My 2 colleagues who had matching blood types donated their blood on the spot just to keep him alive. 2 months after being hit, he was finally approved medical evacuation, just days before the Rafah crossing closed permanently. Today, there are more than 10,000 people still in urgent need of medical evacuation in the Gaza Strip. In May, my colleague Jamal was one of the first people to flee Rafah due to the evacuation orders and start of military operations in the area. The first night he arrived in Deir al-Balah, he was killed sleeping with his family by an airstrike. Meanwhile, Mohammed, fearing nowhere safe to go, was one of the last people to flee Rafah with his family. Not far from his own shelter, he bore witness to an airstrike that killed families sleeping in a tented area. The screams of children burning alive still keep him awake now. As disease has spread through the shelters and camps through summer months, my colleague Raja has had to care for her sister, who caught hepatitis A. With no access to medicine and no clean water, she's been malnourished for months of poor diet. We're now at 12 months into this war, and I can tell you that 1.9 million people have been displaced. I can tell you that a reported 41,000 people have been killed. I can tell you that 63% of buildings have been damaged or destroyed. But I cannot quantify the horrors that people have endured relentlessly for 12 months. I cannot fully portray the fear instilled upon an entire population every hour of every day. I cannot share the overwhelming smell of blood in hospitals surrounding doctors in despair, unable to save countless children. The situation in Gaza right now is as bad as it's ever been. Our ask has remained the same during the last 12 months of war. We need an immediate ceasefire, the return of the hostages, and safe and sustained delivery of aid to give families a chance to rebuild their lives. Thank you.
Thanks to you, Louise. As difficult as it is to hear these statistics, it is indeed very good that you share those with us here. Do we have questions for Louise? Okay, Gabby, I'm not sure if this is for Louise, but if so, I know you have a question for Liz, but I just wanted to make sure we...
On Gaza.
Okay, please. Thank you, Gabby. Thank you. Over to you. Yes.
And then, please, my questions. Is international community forgetting about Gaza because of what is happening in Lebanon? Do you think that, are you feeling that way, or? Thank you.
I think from what colleagues and people on the ground expressed to me in Gaza is there's always a fear that they have been forgotten throughout the 12 months, not just in the recent weeks of escalations. They fear the world overlooks their suffering and their pain, and they fear that not enough is able to be done or being done to help their cause and what they need. So yes, I mean, 12 months into this horrific war, I think I can express on behalf of people who speak to me that they do feel forgotten, and they do feel that their needs are not as important as others, and what they need, just basic things, food, water, shelter, are completely overlooked in such devastating circumstances.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Louise. And thanks to your voice and that of the Commissioner General of UNRWA who briefed you here last night. The idea is really not to make sure that people of Gaza have not been forgotten. So